More and more details are emerging about Aaron Carter's death, and the revelations are absolutely devastating and tragic. On November 5th, 2022, the ex-child star was discovered dead in his bathtub at the age of just 34 years old. He left behind no will, a one-year-old son, and many heartbroken fans. The real cause of death hasn't been determined yet, but the authorities are getting to the bottom of it. Let us fill you in on what's been going on. First off, here's what happened when the cops arrived. As per reports by TMZ, the singer's housekeeper found him passed out in a bathtub and ran to call the police. Page 6 reported that the singer-turned-rapper had been suspected of driving under the influence just 3 days before he was found dead. Carter was cleared once he passed field sobriety tests from officers. Carter also had a previous arrest on his record from a 2017 DUI. When the cops arrived, law enforcement officers said that they found no signs of foul play involved with Carter's death, even though there were homicide detectives present at the scene. Officials also gave us an initial timeline of his death. The police did a welfare check on Carter on November 4th. Carter was alive during the time of the welfare check, but was found unconscious the next day. Law enforcement insiders suggested that the pop star was probably dead for a while, judging by the smell in the bathroom of his home. According to the Daily Mail, when Carter's body was discovered, a neighbor knocked on the door to check on him. The neighbor then claimed that the house sitter answered his knocks and was screaming. He said that his own wife was a nurse and he said he could help out, but the house sitter wouldn't let them into the house. Next up, Carter missed an appointment a day before. The house sitter apparently wouldn't let the police in until they used force to make their way into the home. Carter was allegedly admitted into a rehab program not too long ago in order to gain custody of his son, according to TMZ. His next appointment was scheduled online on the evening of November 4th, but he didn't show up. The outlet claimed that it's probable he missed the appointment because he was already dead. Hollywood Life reported that Carter was actually pretty excited about being a father. He welcomed his son, Prince, in December of 2021 and had talked to his publicist mere hours before he died. One outlet also got an initial coroner's report in which Carter's cause of death was just labeled as deferred. The Los Angeles County Department of Medical Examiner Coroner's Office has since asked for further investigation into the pop star's passing and will make one last determination as to what really happened once additional testing is done. Law enforcement officials revealed to TMZ that they found a shocking array of items in Carter's possession, the most surprising of which were prescription pills and several cans of compressed air. Coming up, a lot of people miss Carter. Tributes for the Aaron's Party artist, who first became famous at 7 years old, immediately poured forth in following his sudden passing. Aaron's elder brother, Nick Carter, wrote via Instagram on November 6, 2022, that he was totally heartbroken at the news. He then went on to say, "Even though my brother and I have had a complicated relationship, my love for him has never ever faded. I've always held on to the hope that he would someday want to walk a healthy path and eventually find the help that he so desperately needed." Aaron's twin sister, Angel Carter, uploaded multiple photos of the pair on Instagram after the news of his tragic death. There were also several other stars who paid tribute to the deceased singer, including Melissa Joan Hart, NSYNC, Lonnie Love, and Paris Hilton. Let's talk about his final year. Carter was sort of a recluse in the last year of his life. The singer rarely went out, but he was dedicated to finding a way to get his career back on track, according to his friend and co-writer, Dan Wright. Wright, a musician who goes by the stage name of 3D Friends, exclusively told Page 6 in the months right before Carter's passing that things were actually going pretty nicely. It was business like it always was when they were getting ready to release Carter's new album, Blacklisted. Wright revealed that Carter didn't actually have a lot of people who wanted to help him out or work with him because of his rough history with drugs. He was written off as a liability. He also added that Carter simply wanted to get his career back, but it was tough because the singer would refuse the few good opportunities that did come his way, and he also wouldn't leave his California home. There just weren't a lot of people who wanted to go to his house and help him with the album. Wright says that the last time they spoke was short and was only about business plans regarding the album, confessing they'd grown apart in recent months. But the musician also insisted that the whole time he worked with Carter, the ex-child star was very vocal about his sobriety. Carter had been sober for 5 years. Apparently the term he'd use a lot was Cali sober, meaning he'd replace the hard stuff with lighter drugs such as marijuana to help him cope. But we don't know how true that is because, on the other hand, his best friend Gary Maditon claimed the pop star had been struggling with addiction issues in the months before his death. He was doing pretty good, but the recent custody battle for his son Prince made things really hard for him. Whatever the case was, anyone could see that Carter was ready to get his career back. Wright revealed that along with weed, he only ever witnessed Carter have his Xanax prescription, which apparently he'd been on for a long time. Wright said that Carter gave off this bad boy persona on the internet and in public, but he was actually quite different in real life. He described Carter as being extremely sharp and well-spoken, and someone who generally had a lot to say. He never once suspected that the pop star was high on dusters. The Crush on You singer has been vocal about his battle with drugs in the past, not hiding his addiction to huffing during a 2019 interview on The Doctors. Carter had also previously been diagnosed with bipolar disorder, manic depression, schizophrenia, and anxiety. Coming up, Carter didn't want his memoir released. Carter's reps exclusively told Page Six that the rapper actually tried to stop his publisher from releasing his controversial memoir. His publicist came out and claimed that Aaron said he wanted nothing to do with the book before it was even finished, and that the publisher was being dishonest by claiming that they had his permission to put it out. Recently, some excerpts were released from the unauthorized memoir titled Aaron Carter, An Incomplete Story of an Incomplete Life, which is set to be posthumously released soon. In one of the more controversial excerpts, Carter reveals that he once spent the night at Michael Jackson's house and discovered the pop icon at the foot of his bed in a pair of underwear. The I Want Candy singer also wrote about his teen love affair with fellow child star Hilary Duff and claims he was the one to take her virginity when she was just 13 years old. Now, of course, Hilary would have something to say about that. Duff, 35, slammed the memoir, saying it was disgusting. She commented that it was actually really sad how not even a week after Aaron's passing has passed, and the publisher is pushing the book to make his own profit, even if the book has mistakes and unverified things in it. It feels like a cheapening of his legacy to sell a memoir that's essentially just clickbait so the publisher can profit off this tragedy. Moving on, there were some unauthorized releases. Carter's publicists and management team said to Page Six that they'd like to thank the Lizzie McGuire star for her remarks. They released a statement saying that they're trying to grapple with the loss, and in the midst of that, they also have to deal with shameless and disrespectful releases. And yes, the new album Blacklist is also an unauthorized release, along with the single titled Lately. His publicists have surely got their hands full right now. They also added that this is not the time to make your own profit, but instead it's a time for grieving. They nicely requested the people behind these schemes to take the content down and consult someone before putting it up. But Andy Simons, the publisher behind the book, has firmly stood his ground, telling Page Six that Carter actually paid him to help him tell the world his life story. He says that even though it's absolutely tragic how that story was unfortunately cut short, his life wasn't as glamorous as it seemed, and he wants the world to know his truth. He also said that the only reason they didn't want the book to be released was that some of the things in it would make certain famous figures look really bad. The author concluded his point saying that Aaron had a right to have his story out there, and he's personally honored that he was the one to get to do it. Aaron also hoped that reading about his own struggles might help others who are fighting similar demons, addiction, and mental illness. That's all really noble, but when he was questioned about whether or not Carter had ever said anything about changing his mind about releasing the book, Simon stayed quiet. And that pretty much tells you everything you need to know. Finally, why is Carter's ex, Melanie Martin, being targeted by his fans? A source revealed to TMZ that Carter's finances weren't in the best shape when he died, seeing that his house was recently put on the market. Carter and his fiancée Martin broke up just 1 week after they welcomed their first child together. In the wake of his death, Carter's fans have constantly been harassing Melanie Martin, his on-again, off-again fiancée. Sources close to Martin revealed to TMZ that she's being harassed on social media and in person by fans and followers who, for some reason, are putting the blame of Aaron's death completely on her and also wishing death on her. It's also not just social media. The outlet reported that some crazy fans have been showing up outside of Carter's Lancaster, California home, the one in which he died, which is also the one Melanie has been living in. It's gotten so bad that fans have been walking up to its doors and windows to peep inside, which obviously terrified Martin. She was left with no other choice but to call the police to avoid any conflict while she shifted her things out of the late singer's house. TMZ reported that the LA County Sheriff's Office was called that day so they could make sure the process went by smoothly. There were also moving trucks outside the Los Angeles home as the mom of one, who wore a tie-dye hoodie, and a friend loaded her boxes into the truck. In the midst of the death threats and nonstop harassment, Martin deactivated her Instagram, probably hoping to lay low until the hype dies down and so she can deal with his death in peace. And that's all for today's video. What do you think was Carter's real cause of death? Let us know in the comments below. And thanks for watching. Until next time.